U.S. Foreign Policy, the Zeitgeist Movement, and Alice Daly's New World Order. From the externalization of the hierarchy. Certain major and spiritual premises should lie back of all efforts to formulate the New World Order. Let me state some of them. 1. The New World Order must meet the immediate need and not be an attempt to satisfy some distant, idealistic vision. 2. The New World Order must be appropriate to a world which has passed through a destructive crisis and to a humanity which is badly shattered by the experience. 3. The New World Order must lay the foundation for a future world order which will be possible only after a time of recovery, of reconstruction, and of rebuilding. With the result of horrifying terrorist attacks, an economic collapse, the longest wars in the nation's history, the specter of world terrorism looming, but with its figurehead reportedly having been assassinated, qualified. 4. The New World Order will be founded on the recognition that all men are equal in origin and goal, but that all are at differing stages of evolutionary development, that personal integrity, intelligence, vision and experience, plus a marked goodwill, should indicate leadership. The domination of the proletariat over the aristocracy and bourgeoisie, as in Russia, or the domination of an entrenched aristocracy over the proletariat and middle classes, as has been until lately the case in Great Britain, must disappear. The control of labor by capital or the control of capital by labor must also go. The economic system in which labor earns one capital must come to an end in order for the New World Order to come about. Why, Mrs. Daly, you couldn't possibly mean that the Zeitgeist movement is intended to bring about, or at least to seem to bring about, a New World Order. 5. In the New World Order, the governing body in any nation should be composed of those who work for the greatest good of the greatest number. Brilliant, Mrs. Daly. Perhaps someone, one day, say in the mid to late 2000s, will take what you're doing here, by which I of course mean placing Marxism in the same category as all other extant and extinct governmental systems, and thus making it seem to the unwary as though Marxism could not possibly be what you are proposing, and then make it clear to those who know what Marxism is that that is exactly what you are proposing. Perhaps they will go out of their way to pretend to address and allay any concern that they are proposing Marxism specifically in one of their films. They might even go so far in attempting to justify doing the greatest good of the greatest number as opposed to there being any sort of standard of justice within this system, by claiming that environment makes a person either good or bad. Any and who at the same time offer opportunity to all, seeing to it that the individual is left free. Today the men of vision are achieving recognition, thus making possible a right choice of leaders. It was not possible until this century. 6. The New World Order will be founded on an active sense of responsibility. The rule will be all for one and one for all. This attitude among nations will have to be developed. It is not yet present. You must be mistaken, Mrs. Daly, as I have read ahead, and what you say next definitely contradicts this imposition of worldwide responsibility. 7. The New World Order will not impose a uniform type of government, a synthetic religion and a system of standardization upon the nations. The sovereign rights of each nation will be recognized and its peculiar genius, individual trends and racial qualities will be permitted full expression. In one particular only should there be an attempt to produce unity, and that will be in the field of education. You are indeed a forward thinker, Mrs. Daly, as Peter Joseph will not present education as an area in which control must be demanded, again, for several decades. 8. The New World Order will recognize that the produce of the world, the natural resources of the planet and its riches, belong to no one nation but should be shared by all. There will be no nations under the category haves and others under the opposite category. A fair and properly organized distribution of the wheat, the oil and the mineral wealth of the world will be developed, based upon the needs of each nation, upon its own internal resources and the requirements of its people. All this will be worked out in relation to the whole. Excuse me, Mrs. Daly, New Age author, and founder of a publishing company headquartered in the United Nations, but you suffered from severe short-term memory loss. You just said that the New World Order will not impose a uniform type of government, a synthetic religion and a system of standardization upon the nations. If all the governments will be made to accept that the natural resources of the planet and its riches belong to no one nation but should be shared by all, their government autonomy will be extremely limited. 9. In the preparatory period for the New World Order there will be a steady and regulated disarmament. It will not be optional. No nation will be permitted to produce and organize any equipment for destructive purposes or to infringe the security of any other nation. One of the first tasks of any future peace conference will be to regulate this matter and gradually see to the disarming of the nations. Wow, Mrs. Daly. Are you also a prophetess? First you introduce the concept of a resource-based economy several decades before it becomes an innovative concept, with those who introduce it to the gullible praying that their dupes won't ever read it in your book, and now this. Or is it possible that the United States is going along with, or at least giving the impression of going along with, this obligatory step in the direction of your New World Order? After all, Public Law 87-297 is called an act to establish the United States Arms Control and Disarmament Agency and begins with the following statement. An ultimate goal of the United States is a world which is free from the scourge of war and the dangers and burdens of armaments, in which the use of force has been subordinated to the rule of law, and in which international adjustments to a changing world are achieved peacefully. It is the purpose of this act to provide impetus toward this goal by creating the new agency of peace to deal with the problem of reduction and control of armaments looking toward ultimate world disarmament. I suppose it could be coincidental. After all, who's to say that arms control and disarmament legislation didn't come to be passed into law in the United States as part of some other completely dissimilar New World Order agenda? After all, it's not like the U.S. has been placed under the charter of the UN, that organization for whom your company publishes printed materials, again with your headquarters being inside of their complex by way of treaties signed by past presidents or anything, right? These are the simple and general premises upon which the New World Order must begin its work. These preliminary stages must be kept fluid and experimental, the vision of possibility must never be lost, and the foundations must be preserved inviolate, but the intermediate processes and the experimentations must be carried forward by men who, having the best interests of the whole at heart, can change the detail of organization whilst preserving the life of the organism. I think we can all agree based upon what I've presented here that Alice A. Daly was a shameless preemptive plagiarist, just as was claimed of Satan by Justin Martyr, reaching forward through time to scoop not only Peter Joseph, but the United States government. Damn you, Alice Daly. Oh, wait, that's been taken care of.